Welcome to A Slice with Dice, where education meets inspiration and leadership meets real life. I'm Corey Alderdice, Executive Director of the Arkansas School for Mathematics, Sciences, and the Arts. With 2 decades in school leadership, I'll share what I've learned from walking the tightrope between policy and practice, especially when it comes to doing right by gifted students and their futures. Ready to dive in? Here's this week's Slice. People love to say that gifted kids are weird. Now, sometimes they mean that as a compliment, like eccentric genius weird. Other times, though, it's said with a smirk, the kind that makes it clear that weird means too much, too intense, too curious, too different. But the truth is that perception says less about the kids and more about how the rest of us define normal. Gifted students often live in a world that's just slightly out of sync with everyone else's, like they're listening to music that's playing a few beats ahead. They don't mean to be unusual, they just experience the world through a wider lens. And when you see more, feel more, and question more, you can look out of step with a crowd that's trying to stay in rhythm. Divergent thinking sits at the heart of that difference. It's what makes gifted students ask questions that wander far beyond the assignment or the conversation. And while most of us look for the most direct path to an answer, they're off exploring every possible trail. Ask for a solution and they might hand you 3, plus a brand new question you didn't know you needed to ask. Their minds move sideways, imaginatively, relentlessly, and that can be exhilarating in the right setting and exhausting in the wrong one. That's the tension. Schools are built for convergent thinking. There's one correct answer, one right way to show your work, one rubric that determines whether you did it right. Divergent thinkers, on the other hand, live for open-endedness. They color outside the lines because they're more interested in what's beyond the lines. When they ask why, they aren't being difficult. They're tracing the logic to its root. When the question rules, they're not rejecting authority. They're testing whether the rule makes sense. But in a classroom, or a workplace for that matter, where efficiency is prized over exploration, that curiosity can look like defiance. And yet, that's exactly the kind of mind that pushes humanity forward. The inventions, the art, the breakthroughs, they all start with someone who couldn't stop asking questions that seemed unnecessary at the time. And still, when you're 12 years old and your brain is wired like that, it doesn't feel revolutionary. It feels lonely, because being different in thought often spills over into being different in feeling. Gifted students are rarely advanced in every area of life. They might process complex ideas years ahead of schedule, but still be navigating friendships or emotions right on time for their age. Now, that unevenness, what psychologists call asynchronous development, creates friction. You can be capable of understanding quantum mechanics and still get your feelings hurt when a friend doesn't text back. And that's when the label weird starts to stick, not because there's something off about them, but because they occupy a space that most people don't. Their humor might miss the mark, their interests might be too niche, their questions might make teachers pause, and over time, some gifted students learn to dim the light a little, to stay quiet, to seem normal, because the price of standing out can feel too high. That's a tragedy we rarely talk about, the quiet shrinking of potential in the name of belonging. But here's the flip side. What looks like weirdness in adolescence often becomes brilliance in adulthood. The kid who couldn't stop questioning becomes the innovator who changes how we think. The one who saw connections no one else did becomes the artist who shows us the world differently. Every too much student you've ever met probably grows into a just enough adult once they find out the right context. A community or workplace where curiosity is currency, not chaos. So maybe the better question isn't why are gifted students so weird, but why do we insist on calling differences weird in the first place? What if we saw their restless curiosity not as rebellion, but as early evidence of creativity? What if classrooms and homes and workplaces were built with room for sideways thinkers? We might discover that what once looked like confusion was really imagination in motion. Gifted students don't live on another planet. They live here with the rest of us, but they notice things most of us miss. They connect the dots the rest of us didn't even see. They ask the questions we stopped asking because we learned it was safer not to. They're not from the future, but they are reminders of what the human mind can do when it's unafraid to wander. So the next time you meet a student or an adult who seems a bit out of orbit, take a moment before you label them as odd. You might just be catching a glimpse of tomorrow's way of thinking, and, well, if that's weird, maybe weird is exactly what we need more of. A Slice with Dice is a production of Aldercube. Thanks for making time to reflect with me. If you're finding value in these episodes, I hope you'll subscribe and help spread the word. Until next week, lead boldly, listen closely, and keep pushing forward. I'll see you then.